Hi, my name is Keri Barnum. I am the Executive Director of New Shelves Books, and we're here for Free Advice Friday, the hour every Friday where we get together to talk about book marketing, publishing, anything along the author journey. We have questions that were emailed in as well as questions live. You are welcome to join us live at 10 a.m. Eastern every Friday simply by going to newshelves.com/FAF. It is absolutely free. You're welcome to sign up and just join when you're able and when you'd like to. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We will take a live question first from Lyle. I'm scheduling my book launch in 3 months on January 11th, and I want to build a team of people that will assist in a countdown to a launch as ambassadors. What are some of the things I can offer them, such as affiliate income, free book, free courses, etc.? Do you have a suggestion countdown campaign? Lyle, if you would, in the chat, tell me a little bit more about your book. It sounds like it might be nonfiction, but can you tell me your genre and just a little bit more about it? Because sometimes that does matter. What I would do for a fiction launch isn't necessarily exactly what I would do for a nonfiction launch. Yes, you're saying it's a nonfiction launch. So if it's a nonfiction launch, I think that you can do a couple of different things. Now, the idea of a launch team and ambassadors is for any genre of books, anywhere from fiction, nonfiction, children. However, if we are looking at how exactly to utilize and entice people onto your launch team, that can change depending on if you've got a fiction or nonfiction book or even a kid's book. So I would first be asking if you have a mailing list that you've already built up. If you have an outreach right there, I would be sending out an email to that email list and letting people know that your new book is coming out January 11th. You're looking for a very limited number of people to join your launch team, which means they will read the book, they will review the book on launch week, and they will post about it on social media or whatever it is you're hoping or asking them to do. You want to put the ask right up front so people know what's going to be expected of them. Then you simply say it's a very limited number. So if you're interested, let me know by October 21st. And you collect those names and you offer them a free book. That's it. You're just offering them a free book. Now, if you have a course that goes along with that book or something like that, sure, you can offer it to them, but you don't really need to. Typically, it's just the free book and going back and forth. Now, if you're having a hard time getting people on your launch team, then you may up the ante a little bit, but typically you don't really have to. And keep in mind that, yes, this is your warm list. This is people that you've already been in contact with, and you are going to give them a free book. So they're not going to be buying it, which means you're not getting that income. Now, you are getting, of course, a lot of value in reviews and support and that sort of thing. But what you want to keep in mind is that if you do have other products associated with your book, like a class or a course, they could still purchase that piece of it and still be income earning. So you want to find this fine balance of giving something of value in asking them to review and launch and share, but not giving everything away. The other thing you have to be really careful of when giving other value away is that there are specific rules regarding reviews. When you give a book away for review, it has to be given freely. You cannot demand a review. You cannot say, I'll give you a book only if you agree to review it. That's actually not allowed. What you can do is say, I would love to grow my launch team. I will be sending the people who sign up an ebook in advance of the launch, so you get the first chance of reading it. And all I ask in return is that you consider leaving an honest review. So that way I ask for reviews, but I didn't say, if you join my launch team and I give you this book early and I give you a course, you have to review it, because that's considered payment. And even if you're sending something like that course and not demanding a review, it can still be seen as payment, which means that your reviews aren't actually in compliance. And that can get you in trouble. It can get you banned off of Amazon and reviews taken down and that kind of thing. So you do have to be very careful about that. Now, if you are going to be launching and you don't have a mailing list, where does that leave you? Well, you have a couple of options. You can start building your mailing list through offering a freebie download through somewhere like BookFunnel, or even right through your website and running ads on Facebook. So that way you're building your mailing list. Or you can simply start reaching out to people you know, asking if they'd be interested in that opportunity to get a free copy of the book. And that's typically where I start. And as far as what that campaign looks like, it really depends. Keep in mind, you do want people to be interested in following, but you don't want people to start posting about your book now when the book doesn't come out till January, because if they do, that book is going to be tired before it ever comes out. What you do want to do is set your expectations and their expectations. Put out that email now and let them know, hey, I know we're getting up into the holidays, so I wanted to let you know now that I'm looking for people to join my launch team, which means that you would be asked to do this, this, and this. Then you tell them and you set the expectation. The book comes out January 11th. So I would make sure that you have that book in ebook form, paperback, whatever you're offering, just keep cost in mind, that you would have that by December 1st. That way you have time to read it and to get your review ready. Then I ask that you post that review on January 11th. I also will be providing social media graphics if you care to share, or you don't even talk about social media yet. And then once the book comes out, you can say, hey, it's book launch day. I'm so excited. Thanks for being part of my team. Would you please go share your review? Here are the links for Goodreads and Amazon and Barnes and Noble, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, I created some social graphics. So if you feel like sharing it, I thought these would be easy and fun to download and share. If you decide to do that, please tag me. So keep in mind, these are not paid members of your team. These are volunteers. You want to keep it fun. You want to make sure that it's easy and that, again, your expectations are clear and that you're not expecting too much. I have seen authors who were pretty demanding of their launch team and they lost their launch team because people don't, if they're volunteering, they're only going to take so much. They're only going to do too much. So if you offer it as something that's available, if they'd like to share, that's totally fine. But if you say you have to share it on your Instagram, you have to do this or that, you're probably going to get some pushback. And again, you want a slow lead up. You can tell people, now that you have the review copy of the book in December, feel free to share your review online early, even though you can't post it on Amazon. Or feel free to take pictures of the book and share it if you'd like. I just appreciate all of it. Tag me in it. So that's kind of your slow build up so that when your book launch comes in January, that you can really push hard and hopefully get a lot of buzz. And you may also consider doing something for a nonfiction book. I wouldn't necessarily do a blog tour. I think those don't work as well. A lot of blog tours work better with fiction, but you can do a blog blast or a blog announcement where a lot of bloggers will just put your book up and tag you in online social media and stuff. It can give you some good SEO and just kind of get your book out there in one big way on launch day. And then you just keep following up. You thank people for their reviews. You post those reviews on social media and online, and you kind of build out from there. So hopefully that helps to give you an idea. You can start assembling your launch team way in advance. Typically, you're going to have a loose list of people in advance, and then as you get closer, so if your book's not coming out for 6 months, you're going to say, hey, I've got a book coming up, it's kind of far away, but I just wanted to put out feelers to see who's interested. And you can start building that team, and then when it actually gets closer, when it's 3 months out, you can say, hey, I'm so excited, the book is actually coming together, I will have proof copies available next month. Just wondering if you're still interested. So you stay in contact and kind of keep it loose. Some people will back out. Some people will be like, I had the time when you asked me, but I really don't now, or something along those lines. And that's absolutely fine. That's why you kind of keep it loose. You get your mailing list, you get your list together so you know who to ask. And then as far as how many people should be on your team, this varies so widely. I have seen people have 10 to 15 people on their launch team. I saw one person who had over 1,000 people on their launch team. Now, I don't think you need all that many people. Usually, rule of thumb is you want no more than a third of your audience. So you still want to sell the book. You want the book to go up online and people to actually buy it. So you don't want to give your book away to everybody, or else when the book launches, what's going to happen? Your book will go up online. You'll get a bunch of reviews, but Amazon's going to say, that's a lot of reviews and no one has bought the book. It's going to look suspicious and they're going to suspend reviews for your book. So you need to be careful that you are only pulling a portion of your audience and everyone else can buy it. Let's see. And most of the times I will say, as far as how you deliver those books, the cheapest and easiest is ebooks. And that's usually what I offer. If someone asks for a print book, might say yes, but that gets pricey. Not only do you have to pay for the proof copy or the, the art copy, but then you have to ship it to them if they're not local. All right. I have an ISBN already, an ISBN number already done in 2022. Can I change the pub date and use it again if book published in 2013? I'm a little confused, but I think you're asking if you can use the same ISBN for a book this year that you had used to publish a book in 2013. And the answer is no. You would need a new ISBN for 2023. So let me just walk through two scenarios because I'm not sure what you're looking for. If you use the ISBN and you actually publish the book and you are now doing a new edition, so let's say it was 2013 and now it's 2022, you would need a new ISBN for a new edition. If, however, you thought your book was going to launch in 2022 because all the best laid plans, my friend, you thought your book was going to go out in 2022, you put it in Bowker, you got that all set up and you assigned it for 2022, and then life happened, and then your designer couldn't meet your needs and you had to find a new one, and then blah, blah, blah. If that happens and now the book launch is being pushed to 2023, you can go into Bowker and you can update your pub date. Same ISBN, you just go in, you edit the record on Bowker to reflect the new pub date. And keep in mind, when you assign an ISBN early on Bowker, you are actually, when it asks what kind of record it is, it's a forthcoming record because the book's not live yet. So they have like, what kind of record is this? Is it a out of print? Is it forthcoming? Is it active? So you would be saying forthcoming, and that is, it's coming out January 11th, 2023. It's a forthcoming record. When the book goes live or the week of launch, you have to go back to Bowker and say, this is an active record. So you do want to update that and change that. And let's say, I probably shouldn't say this, I'll knock on wood for you. Let's say something happens and you decide to move until January 27th or something like that. That's when you change it to your active record. So that way it's updated. It'll take about a week to actually go through and update out that way. But everything on Bowker, I was telling this to someone else the other day, everything on Bowker can be edited and updated. So when you are assigning your ISBNs, do not feel like, oh my God, if I do this wrong, it's just wrong forever and it's ruined and my book publishing career will be over, because it won't. It can be edited. Now you do have to wait a couple of days, because when you do put a new record in or when you edit it, it does take a while to update and you cannot make changes while it's updating, but then you can go in and change it. Let's say you put the title in wrong, you can update it. Let's say you didn't put in a author bio and you want to now, you can add that in. Your date changes, you can put that in. There's a lot that you can do as far as adjusting in Bowker. It's mostly just important that you do update when things happen so that you, number one, have the record of it. And number two, it's correct for when people are looking up books in Nielsen and different things like that. So, all right, Amy Collins. excuse me, Amy Collins, who of course founded New Shelves and who was my mentor, always told me there are never or very rarely real emergencies in publishing because they're books. They're not going to go anywhere, and all the systems typically can be adjusted and changed. So there's not emergencies. There are things that we have to pivot and update and change, but for the most part, there's not too much that can't be undone or fixed. Thanks, Lyle. And let's see, how best to get my Amazon ads ready for December holidays. So I have always said that when you're doing ads for a book, if your book is a children's book, you can certainly add in keywords that focus on those holidays. If you've got a book that really makes sense for Thanksgiving holidays, then you could add in keywords for that. If you are close to Christmas and you've got a children's book, adding keywords like Christmas presents for kids, Christmas presents for 9-year-olds, Hanukkah present for 9-year-olds, Kwanzaa present, go through the holidays, add those in there so that they show up. And that's something you can do, but otherwise keep them running, and keep in mind that for book sales in particular, and children's book sales specifically, 40% of book sales happen between November and January. Why? Because it's the Christmas holiday. So what does that mean? As the market is hopping, you've got a lot of opportunity, but that also means that people will be upping their ad spend, and they will be upping their ad activity, which means you may have to up your ad spend as well in order to stand out. I have seen sometimes where people, their normal ad spend, which is relatively low, starts to get nothing, no impressions. It's not really getting much movement closer to the holidays. And the reason why is because there's more competition, and you may need to up your ad spend to get a piece of that pie, which is quite large, especially around those holidays. So keep that in mind. You may need to up your budget, add in some holiday focused keywords, and also look at what's selling for the holidays. Go through and look and see, for the most part, go onto Facebook or go on anywhere and see what the hot toys are. And if your book can tie in any way, tie them in for an ad. Look at the Amazon toy catalog, which just came out. How do I know? Because it's sitting on my table and it's been circled and folded and all the things from my children. So look and see what's being promoted, what's hot, because if your book makes sense, if it is a book that typically will call to 9-year-old girls, and there are toys in that catalog that are meant for 9-year-old girls, if you can in some way get them associated, or also bots and things like that, that is one of the ways that you can creatively sell books without just jumping into all of the same book categories. And that's my biggest advice. And also, if your book is not something that is big for the holidays, if your book is weight loss, December is not your time, my friend. Wait until January, where everyone's like, shouldn't have eaten that whole turkey and that pie and that whole can of whipped cream I had on Thanksgiving. Probably regretting that now. That's when the self-help, that's when the weight loss books, do the best. No one wants to think about calories during Christmas. We just don't. There are just things like that. So think like a consumer. What might they be looking for? What they might not be looking for? If you've got a kid's book, holidays all day long. You've got a holiday book, absolutely. We even see a big pickup for, again, giftable young adult, some adult fiction. It really depends on what it is. We see that sometimes people do have more time, especially on like holiday weekends, to read. So sometimes we see that, but think like a consumer and be honest with yourself. Nothing kills me more than when someone goes, but I think someone could really, I think it's a really giftable item. I'm sorry, but your book on weight loss, if my husband bought that for me for Christmas, I'd clobber him. And I'm really nice to my husband. So think honestly and be honest with yourself. Don't waste your ad dollars when people are not really going to be interested in your book at that time. But again, if it's giftable, if it's a cookbook, actually, cookbooks can do really well. Coffee table books can do really well right now. Like adult comic or like funny tongue-in-cheek books can do really well. That kind of thing. So think along those lines. And if you've got a book there, you may want to start ads or up your ad budget. I do not have a new book for this season. What is the best way to market all my old titles to give them a lift off, or should I just ignore them and spend nothing? No, I mean, if you've got a backlist titles, typically the life of a book is considered about 10 years. And the biggest sales periods are often the first 6 months of sales when you're promoting it heavily. And then you make more money after the first year from years 2 to 10, because that's when the book has gained social proof and is kind of more popular. So if your book, again, be honest whether or not it's giftable, if it's something people will be interested in around the holidays, then absolutely, you can always market your backlist. Your backlist can sell even if it's not brand new, if it's still relevant. Now, if this is a dentistry book from 2010, I mean, it's outdated. It's not going to sell really well regardless. But if it is a mystery, if it is I say this all the time, my husband's favorite author is Clive Cussler. Clive Cussler has been writing so long that his books talk about the giant cell phones in a briefcase and pagers and things like that, and they still sell beautifully. So sometimes you can get away with that. It just depends on your book, your genre, and again, be honest with how that works. Let's see. My Amazon ads failed last year. How do I do Amazon ads? That's a big old question. I will say you are right, Kim. I do have a Amazon ad video. Sorry, I blanked out. I do have a video that is all about how to read your ad stats. And I think this is important because in this video, and it's on youtube.com/newshelvesbooks. Real spacey. It is up on there, so you can go look at it, but let me grab the link for you. It's called Deciphering Amazon Ad Data for Authors. And this is helpful because part of what I do is I walk you through what the ad data is telling you. Are you not getting clicks? Because if you're not getting any clicks and you have impressions, it's probably your cover or your title. If you are getting clicks and you're not getting sales, you need to look at your description. You need to make sure that you're covering your description and your genre jive. You need to look at your price. So I can't, unfortunately, that would be a bit like a doctor just diagnosing you by looking at you and, not actually examining you. I can't do that. You really have to look at the ad data and see what it's telling you. And again, be honest. It doesn't matter if you love your cover. If you're getting tons of impressions with keywords that truly fit your book and you're getting no clicks, you need to be honest with yourself. Go check out best-selling books in your genre. Look at their covers. Doesn't matter if you like them or not. Does your book fall in line? Does it look like it belongs with them? And if not, then you got to change it. If you're getting tons of clicks over to your book sales page and you are not getting purchases, it's time, my friend, to take a good hard look at your book description. I talked to one lovely, lovely cozy mystery author this week. And her book, like the idea she told me about her book, and I'm going, okay, like this is kind of different in niche and cool, and I could see this selling really well. But then when we were looking at the Amazon sales page in the description, this was a paranormal cozy mystery. The first line of the book description sounded like a memoir, and the second kind of sounded the same. We did hear about it being a cozy paranormal mystery, but not until the last sentence of that paragraph. I was already gone. People who came for a cozy mystery had already walked away because they came for a cozy mystery and the first couple of lines sounded like a memoir. So we have to make sure that our Description is doing its job. And the other thing I see a lot with authors with their descriptions is authors are so afraid of giving away the story in their description and in their ad copy that they don't give enough information. I liken this to when we go see a movie trailer. So many times we've all said it, well, the best parts were in the movie trailer. Well, you know why? Because that's how they get you interested enough to go buy that movie, to get the movie ticket, to sit there and to watch it. You have to give people some of the best bits in order to get them interested in your story. Of course, you don't want to ruin the whole plot. You do want to hold some back, but you have to give people enough to get invested. I always recommend that when doing a book description, when doing a marketing blurb, that you try to get someone to read the marketing blurb who has never read your book. Get them to read your marketing blurb and then ask them, okay, just from that, if you had to tell me what the book was about, what would you tell me it's about? What genre do you think it is? Don't give them the cover, nothing else, just the marketing blurb. They should be able to pretty much nail it and have a good idea of what the story's about and what kind of genre or vibe it's for, if it's for kids or not, based just on that. And if they don't, then your marketing blurb, your description is not doing what it needs to do. Give people more. Don't be afraid to ruin it. Now, of course, if we are, classic example, The Sixth Sense, right? That's the movie where we find out by now. I hope you've all seen it. If not, spoiler alert, I'm about to spoil it for you. The Sixth Sense, where at the end we find out that the lead detective guy, we find out that he's been dead the entire time throughout the movie. And that was the big now we knew plenty about the story. We knew a lot of the subplots and a lot of the information going throughout the story, but they held back that one little piece. That was that was the secret you keep, not the main story, not that, he was investigating things and blah, blah, blah. Because otherwise, why am I reading? Why do I want to watch? You have to give people enough of the action. I see this mistake all the time. And so that's a really big thing for me, is you've got to give people enough of the story for them to care. And enough of the characters to care too. So again, different things to look at based on your Amazon ad data. You can go to YouTube and check out the Deciphering Amazon Ad Data for Author video, because I do kind of walk through that with an actual ad and stats, so you can see kind of what I'm looking at and how I do it. And I think that can tell you a lot. How do I do the pricing calculator for Ingram Spark? What is the interior color and paper for nonfiction? Typically, a rule of thumb is that nonfiction has white paper and fiction has cream paper. That is the current trends anyway. I feel like that does change every couple of years, but right now, nonfiction cream and nonfiction is white paper and fiction is cream paper for right now. As far as gloss or matte, that is up to you. Most of the time, matte is kind of more in right now. There are some times where a cover just doesn't pop like you want it to without gloss. So sometimes, but most part, we're looking at matte for most books. And do you need pricing for the back cover barcode? If you want it considered for bookstores, you sure do. I actually have a whole blog. If you go to newshelves.com, you can look at the blog where I talk about why you need a price barcode on the back of your book if you hope to get your book in retail stores, because they do require it when you're actually submitting to Barnes & Noble. It is one of the requirements is they make you check a box saying, yes, I do have a priced barcode on my book. So yes, you do need to do that. As far as the pricing calculator, I'm not sure why you're trying to use it, so I can't quite answer you there. You plug in the information and it tells you how, the pricing calculator tells you how much your book will cost to print, but then you have to consider your discount and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not quite sure why you want the information, so I can't fully answer that. See, my nonfiction book is 120 pages of 4-color. Ooh, that is probably going to be pricey to print there. I would ask kind of if there's a reason it's in 4-color, if it really needs that. Is there a lot of photos or that kind of thing, or is it graphs? A lot of times when you're printing color, especially print on demand, that price is going to, it's going to bring your price up with the color. It just is. And so a lot of times I recommend that you look at if the color is needed. Now, if you're doing a cookbook, of course you need color. If you are doing some graphs, sometimes you really do need that color. But sometimes authors think, oh, I want it to be in color because it's going to be beautiful, but they don't really need it. And sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Okay, so it's 40+ program guides for people and institutions. And so it may make sense. And it certainly does depend on the paper you're printing on and so on and so forth. But color printing does bring your cost up quite a bit. In fact, like a children's picture book in color typically will cost as much to print as, let's say, a full novel, which is several hundred pages, if not more. So depends, and it also depends if you're doing standard color or premium color and so on and so forth. Yeah, David saying my books have lots of photos, 4-color, large format, 8.5 by 11, and POD is pricey. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to go. No, the pricing calculator is not to help you figure out your barcode price. You need to actually go look at books in your genre and do a price comp to find out your book price. The point of the pricing calculator is simply to let you know how much your book is estimated to cost in print. But after that, you have to figure out your discounts. You need to figure out your list price to see if it's profitable. So we call this POD math. This is where you actually take the information of how much it costs to print your book, and then you kind of work in what your idea for a retail price is, and then you do the math backwards to make sure that it is, excuse me, going to be profitable. So that is something completely different. I do have a blog. I'm going to find it, and it is literally called POD Math because it kind of walks you through the process. So the calculator, the Ingram Spark pricing calculator, is a tool to help you figure out your POD math, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't tell you what to price your book. You have to do that on your own based on the genre and your comps. I'm going to drop that in here. All right. And so if you go to newshelves.com and you search POD math, you will find it. The blog title is How Much Money Does an Author Make? And I actually use some math examples. We all know that math is not my forte. And so I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to do it here live. We will let you go read it and let you kind of see that. Do I have a YouTube on BookBub and BookBub ads? I don't recall doing one on BookBub ads. Does that mean I didn't do one on BookBub ads? Does not. I do have one on BookBub and submitting a book to BookBub. So let me pull that one up. Now, I do think that if you go on to the YouTube channel and you use the search feature to you use the search feature for BookBub, it actually pulls up all the videos that talk about BookBub. And we may have done ads at some point on a Free Advice Friday. I don't have a specific video that I can think of. I will say that BookBub ads are typically not for long term. They are best for books that are priced $2.99 or lower. And then of course we've got a featured deal, which is different. That's when you're mailed out to their mailing list to a specific genre. You do have to submit and be approved for that. And I did do a how to submit your book for a featured deal video, which I dropped in our chat. All right. See, I am going to jump over. I haven't gotten to our emailed questions yet. So let me just answer that. Oh, last week we were talking about Atticus, which is the formatting tool. And it's put out by Dave Chesson, same guy who does Publisher Rocket. And so we were talking about Atticus and formatting. And the question had come up on whether or not it formats children's books. And so I said I didn't think it was probably the best for it, like it could be used for it, but there are other steps, and that turns out correct. So Brenda, who asked the question, went and asked Atticus, and the response, I'm just going to read it because she shared it with me, was, yes, Brenda, it does. We have several trim size options available that are specifically compatible with formatting and printing children's picture books, like 8.5 by 8.5 and 8 by 10. We also offer a full page image feature whereby you can create each individual page of your book as an image that bleeds all the way to the edges of the page, which is a common formatting choice when it comes to children's picture books. It is because typically you have a full background. You'll just want to make sure that if you need text overlaid on those images, that you add the text on them prior to uploading the image to Atticus, as there's no option to do so within Atticus after the fact. But in general, Atticus should be a useful tool for putting together this genre of books. So essentially what they are saying and what that means is that, can you format a children's picture book in Atticus? Yes, kind of. You need to have your each individual page fully done, your illustration, your text on top. You need to save individual pages as images, and then you can upload that image to Atticus, set it as a full page, and put the images together into a book. But you do need to have your full page with your illustration, your image, and your text all in one image in order to do that. So Atticus is a tool that can help you put the book together, but it's not a one-stop shop where you are actually uploading your photo and then putting text on top of it and so on and so forth. It's not made for that. It's not meant for that. Now, I have seen people go into Canva and actually create individual pages for their book in Canva. And then from there, they download it as an image, and then you could upload it to Atticus. So just wanted to follow up on that since it was a question last week on Free Advice Friday. Another question we got was, my book was approved for publication on Ingram Spark, and I signed the distribution agreements for Target, etc. But I still don't see my book showing up on Target or Walmart online. What could be the issue? So here is the thing. Yes, when you upload your book to Ingram Spark, if you've signed all of the agreements, it may be picked up by Walmart.com and Target.com. However, it is not automatic. Just because you sign the form does not mean they have to or will carry your book. What happens is it actually goes through a system on that retailer's end, Target.com and Walmart.com. It goes through a system, and if they decide, bots, I'm assuming this is not done by individual people, I would assume, don't know for sure, but if they decide to list your book, then it may show up on those retailer sites. So just because you sign the agreements doesn't mean your book will show up at Walmart.com or Target.com. It means that the data is sent over to those retailers and they have the choice to list your book at Walmart.com or Target.com. So if your book's not up there, it doesn't mean that you necessarily did anything wrong or you left a step out. It means simply that your book may not being listed just because maybe they decide it wasn't a good fit for them. Maybe they had enough books in that genre. Who knows? There could have been keywords in your book that they decided they're not going to list, whether it be, and it doesn't have to be offensive even. It could just be something like maybe you talked about a company. Maybe you specifically use the example of a company and they were like, yep, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to associate or whatever it is. Excuse me. So it really is just up to them. So it's not necessarily that you did anything wrong, but also once you sign the waiver and everything, make sure that you do go in, make sure your book's up to date, make sure everything's saved and distribution is enabled. After that, that's about all you can do. Another question that we had in was about Facebook ads. I had my Facebook ads up and they were doing really well. But now all of a sudden for the last month or so, they are not doing well at all. What's up? What did I do? And the answer for that is sometimes Facebook ads, if you've been targeting the same audience for a long time, that audience can get stale. And what happens is your frequency goes up. And that means frequency is how many times the same people are seeing your ad. Now, we expect some frequency. We've talked about how the average person does need to see something multiple times before trusting or being interested enough to purchase it. So there is that idea that some frequency is good, but if your ads start to feel a little stale, look at your frequency, because if your frequency is too high, then you may already be hitting people who've already read your book or already bought your book, and you may need to adjust your audience a little bit. Also keep in mind that as privacy and tracking information changes constantly, that those are getting updated by Facebook, and they have removed some specific targets. Like, I don't even think they let you target meditation or yoga, nothing that has anything to do with Christianity or spirituality. Those are all targets that have been taken off. So the audience that you had that may have done really well in the past may not be targeting half the people anymore and may be stale. So that's my first thing, is always go look at your audience and make sure that you're updating that from time to time. Also consider with your Facebook ads, the targeting, but also consider whether or not it's time for a new ad graphic. Just because it worked really well for a year doesn't mean it's working now. Can you try a stock photo? Can you switch it up and see if that's what you need to do? So those are typically my two first checks, is check your audience, make sure that it's still fresh, see if you can update it in any way, and then look at your ad creative. If you've been using a graphic image, try a stock image. If you've been using a stock image, try a graphic image. Change it up a little bit, because even if you do have that frequency from your audience, give them something new and different to catch their eye. That may be what they need to push them over the edge. All right, and we've got just a couple of minutes left, but before we go, I wanted to share with you a couple of things. I am actually part of a conference going on now, and then a conference going on next week. So this one is for next week, the 10th through the 15th. And this is published with Purpose. It's a virtual summit with our very own Tara Alamany from Emerald Lakes Publishing. And this is a great online resource. I'm on there as a speaker. New Shelves is also a sponsor this year, as well as so many other people. It's got a really great lineup here, so you can see the different speakers, and all. Hey, look, it's me, Alexa Big Dwarf, Terry Ryder, Mark, Nathan Nagan, Julie Brand. I had the opportunity to meet some of these folks in a mixer the other day. They're all just fabulous. So lots of good content and information. You can grab your tickets. I'm going to drop a link in here. Full caveat, this is an affiliate link. Use it if you want. If not, go to just Publish with Purpose 2022. I don't care. Do whatever makes you happy. But there's my link. You can also see the tickets here. The basic summit ticket is just $67, which I feel is very affordable. And that gives you 3 months of access to the presentation. There is a higher price ticket, which you have the option of getting with more goodies. But that includes the book launches simplified, which is from Emerald Lake Books that Tara put together and we've talked about before. But so I think that this is a great summit. Obviously, New Shelves decided to be a sponsor for this because I do think it's a really great summit. I think that it's got a lot of great information, and I do think it's affordable at that $67 price point. Yeah, Jane's saying she highly endorses Publish with Purpose. It's a great resource, and I couldn't agree more. I'm really looking forward to some of, not only do you get the classes and everything, but there will be some online mixers where you can talk to other attendees, as well as get together with some of the people who are speaking. And what's great about it is if you get this, there are specific Zoom meeting times throughout the week where you can meet, but also the actual courses you can just attend as you want. You have 3 months to watch them. So it's not like, even though there's a schedule when things go live, if you can't make it, if you've got a day job, something like that, you can watch them in your own time. I personally, again, am looking forward to some of those mixers. I'm going to make as many as I can. They are, some of them are, you know, later in the day for me, and we've got basketball and sports and all the things, but I am looking forward to attending a couple of them. The other one I wanted to tell you about is the Writing Gals Virtual Romance Conference. I will throw this link in the box as well. This one is very specifically curated towards this one. The Writing Gals 2022 online conference is currently in process. You can jump in now, though. You get access, I believe, for all of the content for a year. It's a little bit higher of a price. This is very much geared towards women's fiction and romance, more specifically clean romance. Now, if you write closer on the erotic edge, you'll still get value out of it, but it was very specifically geared towards clean romance writers. So they have craft, they have business and specialty stuff, and you can see there are a lot of different things here. I will be doing my class on libraries and talking about that, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. And this is an online Facebook group, which is fantastic if you write in this genre. So 59 classes and access to the top 10 classes from last year. And you can, of course, go buy tickets. Again, this one is a little bit more pricey. This one is $249. So you do have access for a year and you get a lot of content, a little bit more pricey, but I wanted to let you know about both of those. A little late on the Writing Gals. I just snuck up on me, but it's two great conferences. So, you know, I'm a big fan of conferences, both because of the connections that you can make, but also just because it's good to learn stuff. I like going to conferences and listening and learning because you don't know everything. It's good to know stuff. You never know what you might stumble on that turns into the next big thing that really helps you in your writing career. So, two great conferences I'm very excited and proud to be a part of. I want to just share them with you. And on that note, my friends, we're done this week. I'm done. So it was great to see all of you. Thank you for bearing with my airheadedness a little bit this week. As I mentioned, I'm fighting off a bit of a migraine, but back next week, hopefully good as new. We'll see you then, 10 a.m. on Friday. And we will see you then. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have questions, feel free. If I missed you, I'm so sorry. Email them to info@newshelves.com. We'll cover them next week. Thanks, you guys. Bye-bye.